Whisky.de. Treffpunkt feiner Geister.
Hallo und herzlich willkommen bei Whisky.de, dem Treffpunkt feiner Geister. Und heute bin ich bei der Brennerei. Naja, sie wurde natürlich umbenannt in Jim Beam Distillery, aber der Name Jim Beam kommt nicht von Jakob Böhm. Er kommt von James Böhm. Das ist die 4. Generation an Brennern in der Böhm-Familie. Und der hat dann die Brennerei umbenannt in Jim Beam. Früher hieß die Marke, die sie vertrieben haben, auch nicht Jim Beam, sondern Old Tub. Ja, heute ist die Brennerei, wird sie geführt von Fred No und das ist dann jetzt die 7. Generation schon. Ja, wir gucken heute mal alles durch, schauen mal, warum das so eine berühmte Marke ist und ob der Whisky auch so gut ist, wie die ganze Welt es meint. Ich stehe hier jetzt neben der Mash Shop, wo die verschiedenen Getreidearten, ganz rechts befindet sich Mais, in der Mitte haben wir das Malz und hier links haben wir den Roggen, in die Mash Shop eingefüllt werden. Diese werden dann bei etwas über 100 Grad und Überdruck in einem Dampfkochtopf gekocht und dann ins nächste Gebäude zur Fermentation gepumpt, wo das Ganze dann mit Hefe versetzt wird und dann der Alkohol entsteht. Ich stehe nun hier neben den Fermentierkesseln und hier entsteht durch Gärung der Alkohol. Jim Beam kommt auf ungefähr 10% Alkohol. Die Fermentierkessel sind 45.000 Gallonen groß. 600 Gallonen davon sind dann die Hefe. Und das Besondere bei Jim Beam ist, sie kühlen ihre Fermentierkessel mit Kühlspiralen, die am Rand der Kessel sind und, und das Bier auf ca. 33 Grad kühlen, damit sich die Hefe gut ausbreiten kann. Nachdem das Ganze hier fertig ist, wird es in den Beer Well transferiert, der dann die große Column Still speist. Das hier ist jetzt die große Jim Beam Column Still. Die Column Still ist 6 Stockwerke hoch und ist innen aus Kupfer. Wenn sie hier rauskommt, nennt man das Ganze Low Wines. Die haben 125 Proof, das sind 62,5% Alkohol. Diese Low Wines gehen dann in den Keller, in den Doubler und dort werden sie dann nochmal weiter destilliert auf 135 Proof, was dann 67,5% Alkohol ist. Das nennt man dann High Wines und diese High Wines sind dann bereit, um sie in die Flasche, in das Barrel abzufüllen. Wir sind nun im Lagerhaus von einem der Lagerhäuser von Jim Beam und wir haben das eins der Fässer, das ist auch richtig belabelt. Wir haben James B. Beam Distilling Corporation. Da ist Bourbon Whisky drin und hier steht noch ein bisschen was man nicht so richtig lesen kann. Das steht dafür, dass es auf der richtigen Stärke befüllt wurde. Dann noch die Nummer der Brennerei, was hier 230 ist. Und das letzte ist hier so ein kleiner Code für wann denn das Fass abgefüllt wurde. Das ist 14, steht für 2014. D ist der 4. Buchstabe, steht für den 4. Monat, heißt April. Und es ist der 23. Also 23. April 2014. Es ist ein 9-stöckiges Lagerhaus mit jeweils drei Racks in einer Ebene. Und in den verschiedenen Teilen des Lagerhauses lagern verschiedene Whiskys. Es gibt den sogenannten Sweet Spot, der ist so ungefähr auf der 5. Ebene. Und da lagern dann die richtig guten Whiskys, die dann in diese Small Batch Super Premium Whiskys gehen. Das ganze Lagerhaus ist nicht klimatisiert und außerdem gibt es auch keine Warehouse Rotation mehr. Das wurde alles abgeschafft und heutzutage hat man das alles so ganz natürlich am Lagern. Und hier ist noch was Tolles. Das hier ist das 13 Millionste Fass, das ab 2014 abgefüllt wurde. Und da geschrieben haben da drauf Fred No, das ist der derzeitige Master Distiller. Dann haben wir noch Freddie No, sein Sohn, der gerade sehr viel über den Job lernt und sich gerade einarbeitet in allen verschiedenen Stationen. Dann Baker Beam, einer seiner Cousins, und Jim Beam No, das auch einer seiner Cousins ist. Und dieses Fass zeigt einfach mal, dass schon 13 Millionen Fässer abgefüllt worden sind. Das zeigt einfach, wie toll und wie stark die Jim Beam Brand eigentlich ist.
Wir befinden uns jetzt auf den sogenannten Dumping Floors, wo die fertigen Fässer ausgeleert werden, damit sie später befüllt werden können. Über einen Bohrer werden die Bungs, also die Stöpsel, aus dem Fass geholt und mit so einem Strohhalm versehen, damit sie sich ohne Gluggern entleeren. Hier werden sie dann entleert, der Whisky fließt raus durch einen Filter und kommt dann in die Bottling Line. Wir werden hier gleich sehen, wir haben eine Menge Holzkohle, die in den Fässern ist, die sich von der Wand gelöst hat und nun im Filter festhängt. Das ist hier ungefilterter Whisky, noch ein bisschen Kohle drin. Schauen wir mal, wie er schmeckt. Oh, sehr stark. Aber auch sehr stark im Geschmack. Oh, sehr viel Holz, sehr viel Eiche. Hier enden dann die leeren Fässer, kriegen nochmal einen neuen Stöpsel und werden dann in die LKWs verladen, um dann international verschifft zu werden. Und da Beam Suntory so ein großer Konzern ist, gibt es natürlich eine Menge Abnehmer. Das ist dann Lafroig, Highland Park. Und die sind natürlich besonders scharf auf diese neuen, frischen Bourbonfässer, die noch viel Geschmack drin haben und noch viel von diesen Vanillin in der Eiche noch drin ist. Hier ist eine kleine Abfüllungsstraße, und zwar der Knob Creek Single Cask. Hier kann jeder Besucher einfach sich eine Flasche nehmen und seine eigene Abfüllung machen. Das erste ist mal die Flasche waschen. Gewaschen wird mit Bourbon. Der Bourbon wird hier immer wieder rumgereicht, damit man dann eine Flasche hat, die natürlich die richtige Stärke hat und kein Wasser drin. Oh, ein Sticker für jeden. Ich nehme mal hier meinen roten Sticker, damit man auch weiß, welche Flasche einem selbst gehört. So, der letzte Schritt ist noch das Wachs.
You're ready.
I'm ready.
Press your thumb down and hold it down for a moment. The gentleman is taking your picture. That should be good.
Thank you. So, jetzt habe ich meine eigene personalisierte Knob Creek Single Barrel Flasche. Hier stehen wir vor einem Qualitätslager bei Beam, denn bei jeder Abfüllung werden 2 Flaschen rausgenommen, um sie dann 2 Jahre lang zu lagern, um nachweisen zu können, ja, in diesem Batch ist nichts schiefgegangen. Das ist ja einfach eine Qualitätsmaßnahme, die zur Absicherung dient, und ich denke, das ist echt was Tolles, macht nicht jeder. Ich sitze jetzt hier beim Tasting und wir werden das Tasting auf Englisch halten, weil Fred natürlich kein Deutsch spricht. Wir fangen einfach mal an. This here is Fred No. He is the 7th generation of the family and he is the master distiller right now at the distillery. And he will talk us through the small batch bourbons. And yeah, thank you for having us.
Our pleasure, Benedikt. Glad for you to be here in Claremont with me today.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Kentucky is such a nice country. We've traveled up and down. And yeah, so I have a few questions for you.
Sure.
One question would be, I've talked about that Jakob Böhm, your very, very old grandfather, was from Germany, called Jakob Böhm. Have you ever thought about making a bottling for Germany called Jakob Böhm?
No, we never have really thought about that at this point, but now that you say that, we may have to do a commemorative bottle for
That would be cool.
my great-great-great-great-grandfather, Jacob Bohm. 'Cause we do have roots in Germany. We don't really know exactly where, but the family did come from Germany many, many, many years ago.
Jim Beam is pretty popular in Germany. We sell a lot of your stuff. And yeah, so what are we having today?
Today we're going to look at our small batch bourbon collection, which were developed by my father, Booker No. And the first we will look at is Basil Hayden, this particular bottle right here.
Okay.
Basil Hayden is named for the distiller who started the Old Grandad Distillery back in the 1800s.
Oh, okay.
That's where the name comes from. This bourbon, we double the amount of rye that we put into the mash bill. So we have corn, rye, and malted barley. This one has a much higher percentage of rye than the other 3 in the collection.
So I'm looking at, I say here, 8 years old, so I'm looking at a bit of more spicy and more
Spicier, a little drier.
A little dry, okay.
You know, this one is it's 40% ABV. This one is very easy on the palate, which we're seeing a lot of folks who are just starting to experiment with bourbon enjoy the flavor of Basil Hayden because it is such an easy to drink bourbon. I think you're going to see it has nice aroma, a good body, a real quick, clean finish that doesn't overpower your palate. And people who are just starting to experiment with bourbon a little bit have enjoyed it quite a bit. I mean, you see you've got some nice, good golden amber color to it.
Oh yeah, that's what I like about the bourbon. You have no coloring and still you have that great color.
Yeah, all the color it gets comes from the charred white oak barrel that we store the bourbon in. When we distill it, it's crystal clear. You saw on your tour,
Yeah.
the White Dog.
I had a bit of white dog, and I have to say,
I think
bourbon is all about maturation.
I think the barrel helps it quite a bit. I mean, this one
Definitely need a barrel.
has good aging. When you nose it, you'll pick up the spiciness of
Oh yeah,
the increased amount of rye.
but it's I know it's a spiciness, but it's not as attacking like any. I had a few others, but
Right.
yeah.
That's why I say it's a very easy to drink bourbon, because it's easy on the senses, the nose, the taste, the finish.
So it's 80 proof, 40%.
80
ABV.
proof, 40%, 80 proof.
Okay.
You see the spiciness,
Definitely. Oh, now there comes the spiciness.
and then when you swallow it,
Oh, it's a bit glowing.
and then the finish is very quick. You know, it doesn't overpower your palate.
Yeah.
it's-
Now there comes a bit of dryness, but I like it.
It's one that we're seeing quite a bit of growth on here in the United States.
Okay.
People are discovering Basil Hayden and liking it.
Quite a unique design of bottle. You have that copper band around it, but I like it. I really like it. It's a good bourbon. I like the small batch bourbons a lot.
Yeah, this one is doing very, very well with very little marketing support. It's not one that we've advertised a lot. This one has really grown a lot from word of mouth.
Oh,
Mixology folks around the country have discovered it and are using it in cocktails and on the rocks. Neat. You know, it's a very versatile bourbon that folks really have grown to, with increased amount of females that are getting into bourbon now. Women in bourbon are becoming very popular here in the States.
yeah.
Basil Hayden is a favorite of a lot of the ladies who are discovering bourbon and liking it.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, I have another question for you.
Okay.
So, for the product range, we see a lot of increase. Like you have the small batch bourbons, you have liqueurs with honey and other stuff. So your product range is growing. Is there any reason behind that?
Well, I think people who are discovering bourbon, there's a couple reasons. And people are discovering, you know, how versatile bourbon is. And the people who are into bourbon like new things.
Okay.
And we're trying new things and exploring new avenues, you know, with the infused stuff. As you say, the liqueurs, the honey bourbons, the cherries. You know, this has brought people to the bourbon category that maybe never looked at bourbon before. You know, this is a totally new segment in the bourbon category with the infusions. And then the old classic cocktails are getting people looking at bourbon more.
Yeah.
I mean, in the past, when people said whiskey, they only thought of scotch. Now when people say whiskey, they want to say what kind of whiskey, because bourbon is moving right up there with them. And, you know, I think cocktails are helping, education. People are
Definitely.
discovering that there's a lot to bourbon and not just a shot and a beer like, you know, in the past.
Yeah, you know, when I thought about bourbon before I entered the whiskey business, I always thought about, I don't know, a cowboy.
Cowboy
with
belling up to the bar, yeah.
In a tumbler, and I don't know.
Give me a drink. Just drink it
yeah,
now.
what's it called? Dusty's throat, and then just down it. But that's, I don't know, the old school bourbon. It's still a lot of heritage, and I don't know, there's a lot to it. So
Yeah, and I think education, you know, consumers are learning more about what they are drinking, and they are learning that bourbon has a lot to offer, and so they're giving it a try. And like I say, the popularity of cocktails, whether it's the old classics or the new ingredients with fresh juices, you know, mingled with the bourbons, and the balance is good. You see people really enjoying, say, a Manhattan or an old fashioned or a whiskey sour, where before a whiskey sour was just sweet and sour mix. Now the mixology folks are squeezing fresh lemons and making simple syrup, getting the balance right, and making the drink really refreshing and tasty. And you see people drinking bourbon all year long, not just in the wintertime when it's cold.
okay, good.
Now we're going to look at another one of the small batch bourbons, which is the #1 selling super premium bourbon in the world, Knob Creek.
Okay.
You know, Knob Creek is named for a little area here in Kentucky where President Abraham Lincoln was born. This one is very, very popular. It is, like I say, the number one selling super premium bourbon, and it is really grown by leaps and bounds. This one, a lot of folks in the mixology world prefer it with the Manhattan cocktail because it stands up very well.
Okay.
This one is bottled at 50%.
50%, okay.
So we're stepping up in strength.
A bit more kick behind that.
A little more age on the whiskey. It's aged 9 years.
9 years.
So, you see the color is a little deeper and darker than the Basil Hayden that we looked at before. This one, when you nose it, you're going to see more of the wood coming through. Totally different nose feel than the Basil Hayden.
Got a lot of vanilla and caramel.
All right. That's coming from that white oak barrel that
Yeah,
these are aged in.
Okay. Yeah, but
And the
there's
sweetness
also
too
some-
comes through. There's some sweetness.
also get the wood now.
But when you taste it, it's going to be bigger and bolder on the palate than the Basil Hayden, and the finish will linger with you much longer than the first one you tasted.
Okay, longer finish then. Oh yeah.
Opens up well in your mouth and
Oh yeah. Okay, the 50% give it,
a little more body.
yeah, more
Stands
body.
up.
It has more alcohol to carry the flavors. And oh yeah. It releases it longer. It stays longer in your mouth.
Like I say, this one is a very, very good bourbon for the fan of the Manhattan cocktail because with the dilution and the vermouth, you need a bigger, bolder bourbon to stand up to the vermouth, and then the dilution when it's stirred and then served up.
I can't quite make out which one is, I don't know, would say heavier because this one is spicier and this one has more of an oaky feel. But I would say it's, even though it has 50%, it's, I don't know, lighter than the other one. It's just smooth.
It's got a great flavor. I mean, that's the reason
Yeah.
I think it's done so well. Is the balance, the aging, just the right amount of wood with the strength. All those factors come together to create this bourbon and to make it so pleasing to the palate.
Okay. Nice. So, on the way down here, I saw a plant called Booker No plant. Do you have many plants around here?
We have two.
Two.
You saw the one, the Booker No plant was named for my father after he passed away.
Okay.
That's the one that he started. He worked here at Claremont, and when they purchased that facility, he went over there and started that plant and ran it until he passed away.
Okay.
And so they named it after Dad.
Okay. So.
Right after he passed away, called the Booker. It used to be called just the Boston plant.
Okay.
Now it's
Now
the Booker No plant.
Booker No plant. Oh. Yeah, I've seen your what's it called, heritage tree in the visitor centers.
Right.
Great family.
There's a lot of beans were involved in the
A lot of
making of
beans
bourbon.
and nose. Okay. So great. So we're having the bakers also.
Baker's, yeah. Baker's. It's named for my second cousin, Baker Beam. He actually was the last Beam to live in this house that we are in right now.
Okay, great.
Baker lived here, and then he moved. He built a home and moved down the road about a mile, and he was a distillery manager here at the Claremont plant. And his bourbon is aged 7 years and bottled at 53.5% or 107 proof. It's a little bigger and bolder than the Knob Creek and the Basil Hayden. This one is a very tasty bourbon. Of the four, it really stands up. You'll feel it has a different mouth feel totally. You'll feel it almost want to make you pucker up. Makes you draw your mouth.
Okay.
You'll get the big vanilla notes in the nose, I think. Fans of cigars, people who smoke big, heavy cigars,
Okay.
they really like this bourbon that goes well with a big, heavy cigar.
Okay. So is there like anything like particular that goes well with cigars? Is it like the vanilla or?
I think the vanilla, and then the big taste in your mouth. If you're going to smoke big, heavy cigars, you need to drink a big, heavy whiskey, they tell me. The guys at Cigar Aficionado magazine.
Okay, so you're looking at a strong whiskey to go with the strong flavors of the cigar.
And if you were going to smoke a lighter cigar, you might be more apt to pick Basil Hayden.
Okay.
They say, you kind of pair your smoke with what you're drinking, or vice versa. And this one, they tell me, which I don't smoke that many cigars.
Me neither.
But they tell me this one is what, if you're going to smoke a big, heavy cigar, you need a big, heavy bourbon to stand up with it. And
it's interesting. You bring out a good product, and what people do with your product.
Right. Oh, yeah.
It's not up to you, but you realize that after a few years or something, we sell that a lot to that market. Why is that? Because it pairs well with cigars.
I think it's an experience thing.
Yeah.
When you're drinking your bourbon, you're usually with your friends. Mm-hmm. And if you have your big cigar, maybe you're with your friends celebrating or enjoying and relaxing with a bourbon. And, that's what they say go together. So I'm not going to tell them they're wrong because, I like the bourbon.
Yeah.
And it's just another good reason to enjoy Baker's bourbon.
Okay. Ooh. I definitely
different
feel
mouthfeel.
Definitely feel there's a bit more alcohol in that. Okay.
You feel it on your mouth, kind of.
Yeah.
Makes you want to pucker up a little bit.
Almost, I don't know if it feels like a bit, if it would be sour. I don't know. It's like a glowing or something.
I can't explain it myself either, but it is different. I know when Dad developed these bourbons, some of our competitors tried to say that it was the same bourbon, just different bottles.
Really?
And my dad would say they obviously haven't tasted them. Because when you've tasted 3, and you can see that they're all 3 different.
The one that stands out for me the most up till now is the Basil Hayden.
Basil Hayden?
Because the strong rye. But this one, I don't know, it's still glowing a bit.
Oh yeah, it's got a long glowing finish.
But
I mean, you can
around
see
your
where
mouth, you still feel that if you taste it, you have that.
It's like it lingers.
Sweetness.
That's where I think the guys that are, you take a little sip of your bourbon, maybe take a draw off the cigar, and the two, the Bakers are still in your mouth, and when you exhale the smoke, they're still there. It doesn't go away. Like the Basil Hayden, the finish goes away real quickly. This one lingers much longer in your mouth, as I'm sure you're seeing.
Yeah. I think many people have already found out about your small batch bourbon. And one question for my father is, will there be any, I don't know, other bottlings of the Basil Hayden Baker's Bookers? Like with the Knob Creek, you have the Knob Creek Rye, you have the small batch. I think
single barrel.
Single barrel.
There possibly could be some line extensions down the road with these. The thing that we, right now we're experiencing such a big demand for these that the barrels we laid down for these products, if you're going to extend the line, you have to have extra barrels.
Yeah.
So and the demand is so great at this point, we don't have a lot of extra barrels laying around to do line extensions. So to do it, we would have to lay down more, let it age, and then set it aside and say this is going to be, say, for a Booker's single barrel project or a Basil Hayden single barrel project. So I mean, there's the recent demand influx has tied our hands quite a bit on releasing a lot more products in these same lines because these barrels age 7, 8, 9 years.
Yeah, all the years that are written down here are not just the good age, but also your reaction time to demand increases. Yep. So
and there is a reason, the aging, it makes it what it is. So we're looking at things.
Without the aging, we'd have the white dog, and I have to say I'm not quite a fan of the white dog.
I think the barrel helps the white dog a whole lot.
Yeah, definitely.
It definitely needs to be aged. I mean, it is it's a raw spirit in that form, but the barrel really tames it and brings the character and color and a lot of flavor to the bourbon.
Yeah, and that's what is great about whiskey, aging. I'm amazed that you have so much ages written on the bottles, because in the Scotch community we all experience now the NAS bottles, the non-age statement.
Some of them are. The Basil Hayden right now is actually, that age statement is going to go away.
It's going to go away. Oh,
and it's.
What a pity.
But the thing is, we're still using. All it does is just loosens up inventory that's close to 8 years old.
Oh, okay.
You know, if you say 8 years old, every drop has to be 8 years old.
Obviously.
Where you can find some barrels that are 7 years, 6 months, that still have the same taste profile, depending on where they're stored in the rack house. So it opens up more barrels to be bottled. So that's where the no age statement is. It's actually it's already come on Basil Hayden, but we've experienced no one complaining that they're seeing a difference, because we're still mingling the barrels together.
Okay.
And you're getting a good balance, and flavor is still
as long as the people get a good product, I think they will appreciate it.
right. I mean, it just unties our hands quite a bit,
Okay.
taking the age statement off there. As long as you keep the product profile, taste profile the same, you're still doing. Because people who enjoy it, you change it, they will know, and they will let you know about it real quickly.
Definitely.
For sure.
Okay, so
Last but certainly not least, we have my father's bourbon, Booker's bourbon. You know, this one is bottled uncut, unfiltered, straight from the barrel.
straight from the barrel. Okay.
This one has no water added at any point. It gets distilled at 125 proof or 62.5%. That way, when it goes into the barrel, there's no water added. We cannot put any of the bourbons in the barrel at higher than 62.5%.
Okay.
So anything that gets distilled higher, you have to take demineralized water and bring it down to that strength.
So
This one gets nothing added at all.
at the filling in the cask, you add no water.
None at
from
all.
the still. Okay. And
When
then
it
when
come-
you take it out, it has
No
that
water
percent-
added either.
Oh, that is interesting.
I select the barrels. Dad selected the barrels up until he passed away.
Okay.
Today, I select the barrels that goes into each batch of Booker's bourbon. And it's something that I take a lot of pride in, because it is my father's bourbon. That is his handwriting. The original batch, he hand wrote the labels.
Oh, nice.
That's why they picked up on the handwriting.
Okay. Very nice.
And it was something that we did as an experiment. We gave the first batch of bottles, most of them away, to our distributor friends to see if there was a market for high-end bourbons. This was back in 1987.
1987. Okay.
That was before any of these super premiums were ever created. And so doing this, Dad opened the door to a whole new category of bourbon, the super premium bourbons. He went with the small batch style of making, where you mingle the barrels together for consistency. His
Okay.
good friend Elmer T. Lee went the single barrel route with Blanton's.
Oh yeah.
That was all in the same time frame.
So how big is a small batch? How many barrels are we looking at?
Today, we're dumping right at 500 barrels
500 barrels.
to a batch. In the early days, 200.
200. Okay, so we are looking at, let's say, 1,000. That's like 2,000 bottles, or
Probably, yeah. It depends on how much Angels share.
okay.
You know, you're losing 4% a year. So, you know, that comes into play, what's left in the barrel. With Booker's, whatever's in the barrel, that's what you get.
Okay.
With the others, we add a little water to bring them down to the bottling strength. So your number of bottles will increase. But with this one, whatever comes out of the barrels is what goes into the bottles, and that's what we get.
So we're looking at a bit even darker color then because
Well-
you don't add water?
These barrels get stored in the sweet spot of the rack house, the center cut,
The center cut, okay.
which is the 5th and 6th floors of these 9-story buildings.
Okay.
So you get, the color is a good balance. You don't get, barrels that are stored up high, you get a lot more color comes from that barrel.
Mm-hmm.
Barrels stored down low don't get as much. You'll see the strength on the upper stored barrels will go up. The strength on the lower tiered barrels will go down. This goes in and stays relatively the same.
Okay.
Now you got your big vanilla notes, just like we've been talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. This is a bit stronger. I can already smell that.
You know, and Dad's theory on this bourbon was to allow you, the consumer, to reduce it to the strength they want to drink it. You know, you can
Okay.
take just a little splash of water, put it in there and open it up. It'll bust up the molecules and really change the whole experience. Or maybe a cube of ice, put it in there, swirl it as the ice melts and releases the water.
Mm-hmm.
It will open it up a little bit. But Dad's theory was for the consumer, because all these have had water added to bring them down to these bottling strengths. This one, he allows you to add the water if you choose.
That is nice. I think most of the people will taste it first time. They will taste it straight away.
And then you can always take a taste and then add a little splash to see what it does to it, because it does change the character of it.
Definitely. Hmm. It's sweeter at the start than I thought. Oh, but now you really taste
See,
the
when your saliva
ice.
gets in it, but if you take just a tiny drop,
Okay.
just to experiment here, you'll see that it greatly changes it, opens it up, and makes the bouquet change considerably. And I'll swirl it around a little bit. And then now if you smell the nose, you'll see that it's opened up, and it's even more aromatic with just that little bit of water.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the high strength ones that you can open up, because if you take let's say a 40% one, add water, it opens it up as well. But the chance of diluting it too much, so you have
Very
a
easily.
watery substance,
Right.
is just a bit too.
And if you add any ice to it, it keeps getting diluted as the ice melts. You know. In this particular batch, I have to look, I can't see without my glasses. This is 128.9, so it's 64.45%.
So this is always varying from.
It varies from batch to batch.
Okay.
So that's the thing. You have to look at the little sticker to see,
The sticker tells you.
tells you the age of the youngest barrels in the batch. That's the age statement on there. Let me get my glasses back out again.
Okay.
The youngest barrels in this particular batch were 7 years, 7 months, and 13 days old.
Oh, okay. So you actually allowed to write the specific
Yeah.
age
If
on
you're
it.
going to state the age, the youngest barrel in the batch is the age of the entire batch.
Yeah, I always thought that you had to round it to the.
No, no
to the-
rounding. No.
Okay, you don't have to. Okay,
No,
that's
the exact age of the youngest barrel would be. Now you could call this
you
7-year-old,
can't call it 7
but
years.
you can't call it 8.
Yeah, yeah. The rules for bourbon are quite strict, right?
Yes, sir.
But
Very strict.
I like it that you keep the rules for bourbon quite strict, because nowadays,
You know what you're getting in the bottle.
definitely nowadays you have all these additives and stuff. No,
Right.
no additives in here.
No, and that's the thing. Everybody has to play by those rules.
Definitely.
So I mean, if you see a bottle that has bourbon, if it's made here in the United States, they follow the same rules as I follow, and you can compare bottle to bottle by reading the labels.
Definitely. So yeah, I think we're through. Thank you for having us. Great whiskeys you have here.
Thank
Great
you.
Bourbons.
Thank you.
So I highly recommend you check out all the bourbons yourself. And thank you for watching. Thank you for
My
having
pleasure.
us. And if you like this video, then please share it with your friends.
Come
Thank you for
visit us.
watching. Oh yeah,
If you're ever in the States, come visit the Still House.
yeah. It's been great being here. All the visitor center and all the distillery is great to see.
Tours and everything. Everybody
Yeah.
gets a tour, not just you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for watching.